Hello, my name is Stacy Anderson, and today I want to talk to you about learning to use Summon, which is known as a web-scale discovery system for libraries. This lesson will teach students how to use Summon, a web discovery service. It'll show them that Summon, despite looking like Google, finds different information than Google. Ironically, we're finding in the digital age that research seems to be far more difficult to conduct in the digital age than it did in previous times. That might be a shock to people who are used to card catalogs and green bound volumes of Reader's Guide, but now we have such an overabundance of information that students are they're just overwhelmed, and they often don't know where to start, and that's the most paralyzing feeling that they have when it comes to doing library research. And what do students think research is? Well, by the time they get to college, which is where I am dealing with, and even high school, I would suppose, Google is what they think research is. It's what they've always used, and it's gotten them through, so that's what they think research is. And what do students value when it comes time to research? Well, they value time and convenience, and they value what's good enough and close. So even though they're not finding the best things necessarily on Google, if they're good enough, they're close to what they need, it's saved them a lot of time and it's convenient. They already know how to search it. Those are the things that they value, even if they know they're supposed to have more advanced tools or research articles that they're finding. Those things that they value are above that knowledge, so they continue to use Google to do most of their research. And there was a study called the Project Information Literacy, and they did a study and they surveyed 100 students, and what they found was 48% of the students, when they had to do research, started with the internet. Frankly, I think that's a little low. I think students may have been not wanting to admit where they really start. And of those 100 students, they looked at 302 websites when they went to do their research, and you can see the numbers. 53 of those websites were advocacy websites, which means, of course, that they're not objective. They had a strong bias. 49 were news. Depending on the news source, that might not be, news isn't always objective anymore either. Informational were 45, that's good. 38 were personal websites. So how reliable is that information, how credible? So you have to question that. 34 of them were for companies, which obviously have an agenda, and 2 were from online journals. So of the 302 websites, the quality and the credibility is somewhat circumspect. Compounding the problem that we're dealing with in libraries is we typically have what we call one-shot instruction sessions, and we come in for an hour and we have to teach you everything that you need to know. So not only do we have to teach you how to search and what to search for, we also have to teach you how to use the tools that you're going to search. And so it's very it's not very useful, and that doesn't help that half the students will have had some session and some will have nothing, and so you never know. So you have this mix of student knowledge and you have a very little amount of time to do too much, and we do try to do too much, unfortunately. The other problem that we're dealing with is library information tends to be in what we call silos. So there'll be a database, there'll be one database here, maybe JSTOR, and then there'll be another database called Academic OneFile. There'll be another database called Business and Company Resource Center. So there's all these different pieces of information in there in the catalog. That's another silo. So our information tends to be in all these silos, and you have to know where to start in order to get started. And that, like I said, is one of the most difficult concepts to get across and one of the most frustrating for students. So a big question that we can ask and students ask, why can't the library be more like Google? Well, there are a lot of problems with Google, we know that, but we all use it and we like it because it is convenient, it's time saving, and it's usually good enough, and it's usually close to what we need. Now, those of us who are in the know realize we have to go beyond that, but it's always a good place to start. The problem with students is they stop there as well. But why can't library searches be more like Google? So that's what web-scale discovery systems have come about, is to be more like Google. They provide one-stop shopping for all library materials. The user doesn't need to know where to start. Like I told you, that's one of the biggest problems, is where to start. It can include just about anything the library owns, and it doesn't matter what database it's in.